G'day everyone, welcome to another episode. I'll be going through my round 3 tips today and having a bit of a look at the Derby. So I might start with the Derby. It's on Sunday afternoon, the last time slot. I don't know what's happening with some of this fixturing. It's a marquee game. I guess just pigeonholed in the last slot of the game. Should be a Saturday game. But anyway, West Coast home game. Um, No real idea who's going to line up for West Coast. Sounds like JK will at least come back for them. They've still got a few guys going through the health and safety protocols. It's a bit of a look. I'm a one-eyed Freo supporter as it gets, but it's pretty rough for the Eagles at the moment. It was a joke that they had to go over with a waffle team just about and play North Melbourne, and they almost beat North. So it's a bit. I think they've got the rough end of the stick. Hopefully, Freo don't get it as bad as they have, and there's every chance. And it looks like the AFL will just make us all play on. So, looking forward to that at some stage in the season. So who do they get back? I think Shuey got through unscathed. Kelly got through unscathed. So they'll have some decent mids. Um, they've still got like some more like key guys out. So like Sheed's out for a while, Yo's out for a while, Cripps is out for a while. But I think they'll have enough firepower on the pitch to cause Freo some dramas, particularly if we serve up what we've served up in the first 2 rounds. You've got Ryan and Rioli, who are always damaging. They can have an impact. I think Darling's probably a bit underdone. Pearce or Hamling or Logue, I think will account for him easily. And JK is looking a bit long in the tooth. Up forward for us. I think Barassa's coming back. I think he was only out because of the health and safety. I don't think Nelson comes back. He was a late withdrawal. You'd think they go with Lob again with Meek. I'm not sure if Darcy or Tracy are going to be up for this game. I don't think they bring in Amos. It's a bit too early by the sounds of it. So you're going to need a big game out of someone like Michael Frederick. He's been a bit quiet in these first 2 games, despite what he was showing in the preseason. And where the game's going to be won and lost is in the midfield, and we got destroyed last week. So we had Brayshaw. I said in my last video that I thought our mids applied some pressure. Like Saints weren't dominant in terms of their disposal, but they certainly got enough looks. They're getting their hands on it. We need Sarong to have a really good game, support Brayshaw. We need Tucker to actually contribute. And I really think the result of this game is dependent on, unfortunately, guys like Akers, Tucker, Aish, Schultz, Banfield, if he stays in the team. These guys need to actually play to like a fairly high standard. If we get a 7 out of 10 game from them, we win this game easily. Because the Eagles bottom, like 6'10", they're not much chop. The Eagles like top liner guys, so we're talking, Kelly, Shuey, like Kennedy, Darling when they're up and going, Ryan, Rioli, McGovern. These guys can really get on top of us. So if they sort of matching us 1-for-1, we need these guys who've got, the AFL experience, and they should be playing better than what they've been dishing up so far. It's really going to be on them. And I think Michael Barlow's given them a bit of a roast in the paper. He did this last year, actually. Barlow. It's nice to have some for our supporters in the media. And we went out and we won that derby, that last one of the year. And he was like the same thing. He just put it on the fringe players. And I think that's where we've got a bit of a gap at the moment. Like, the fringe guys just aren't pulling their weight. If you look at the period where we were decent for, 2012 to 2015, you had guys like Nick Subin, Daniel Pearce, and like these guys were whipping boys. Right? Don't get me wrong. De Boer. Like, we had some like big bodies, threw their weight around, got their 20 touches, got their 5 to 10 tackles. In Pearce's case, the meters gained, like they were contributing to the result of the game, despite not being the star players. We're not really getting that from guys like Tucker and Aish and Banfield and these guys. So we need a bit of a lift from them. I'll be going for Freo, obviously, in this one. I do think we've got the advantage in terms of our ins. We are like fit and available, except for Mundy Fife. It sounds like Tabs will come back, which will be good. I forgot about him earlier, so it'd be good to have Tabs back. I see us getting up by about 15 points. Eagles have been playing for pride. You got to give them that. They've looked good in the last 2 weeks despite playing with the hand tied behind their back. And I think it's a bit of a nothing to lose for West Coast, right? So Freo should win because they've got a lot of West Coast have got a lot of players coming back from the COVID protocols. They've got a lot of injuries. Some of them are only going to get to training till like Thursday, Friday, and then they're going to play on Sunday. So there'd be a lot of people putting the acid on Freo, like, come on, guys, you're expected to win this game. And where it can be a bit dangerous, because we know for Freo, it's always between the ears. We're going to go Freo by 20 points. So then I'll go back to the start of the round. So first up, we got Doggies against Sydney. And I'm going to go Sydney. I haven't tipped Sydney at all this year, and they've proved me wrong 2 games in a row, and I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't tip them. I've gone with the Swans by 15 points. I thought there was a risk there. There's probably a bit of an emotional high last week. Will they get up? The Dogs, I just don't know who their like key backs are. Like, is Keith going to rediscover some of his form? I think Gardner's the other back. Like, it's not very inspiring. Bontempelli and Norton look like they're playing on one leg. And Sydney have definitely got the firepower to get this done. So I'm going to go the Swans by 15 points in this game, which means the Dogs start 0-3. So I don't think they'll be finishing top 4 if they start 0-3, but we know they can make grannies from 5 to 8. So I don't think it's no finals yet for the Doggies, but it's a bit of a way back. The next game up, we've got Melbourne against the Bombers at the MCG Friday evening. So we've got the D's easily winning this, I think. Bombers, they're a flaky team. Don't really rate them. And I don't really see a world where they kick a score. Merritt's out. Big out for them. Yeah, I'm actually just trying to imagine like a mirror world where Essendon win this game. Like the 475 odds I'm looking at here seem like low. Yeah, it'd have to be something like Petrarca and Oliver go down injured in the first 10 minutes. So yeah, I think Melbourne just have Essendon covered all over the ground. Yeah, not much more to say about that game. The showdown. Also Friday night, so there's a bit of an overlap in this one. Both teams coming in with a 0-2 record. Oof. I've got to go Port. Adelaide have looked shocking. They've had some good moments in that game against Freo, but against Collingwood, they didn't serve up much. Port were not great for the first 2 rounds. They've had moments, right? That Brisbane game, they really held in there. The Hawthorn game, it just seemed like it was a bit similar to the Essendon stat sheet against Geelong in round 1. Like, yeah, their mids have got some good stats, but they got smashed on the scoreboard. So I think Port come out with the better sort of team on paper and they win this one. I think Port have won the last 4 in a row, so Adelaide will be up and about trying to break the streak. But I think Port get over Adelaide in this one. Next up, we got the Giants against the Suns at Giants Stadium Saturday. So I thought about this, and I'm making a bold prediction that Gold Coast are actually going to get up in this game. Now, I tipped the Giants last week, and they let me down terribly. I tipped them in the Swans Derby first up, and shocking again. How long can I keep tipping these guys? Like, oh yeah, they'll just get up over Gold Coast. I'm not sure if they can. They look cooked a little bit. Last year they started 0-3 and resuscitated the year. But it's almost like same old story. Like, are they going to be... I think mentally they might be gone a bit. So I think the Suns, they're looking positive. They're up and about. They push the Demons. No one probably expects them to go knock off GWS. So just go have a crack. And I think they can actually do it. Their midfield can compete with GWS. Though, as long as they run both ways, you'll get over the Giants. Forward line for the Giants doesn't look like much chop. So I think the Suns win in a fairly close game. Then next up we got the Pies against the Cats. Great work, Collingwood. You're 2 from 2. That's all you can do. You got a much harder opponent this week. Geelong. They didn't play as badly as the scoreline reflected in that Swans game. I think Swans were definitely the better team. But I think it was like a 30-odd margin or 20-odd margin. There was a lot of shots that Sydney kicked, like their snaps over the shoulder and things like that are just flying through. That they were very efficient in front of goal, Sydney. And if you play that game probably 10 more times, they don't kick the exact same as they did. So I think Geelong will bounce back. They're the big old team playing against the young'uns. We saw that win against Essendon when they just bashed them up in the midfield. I think Collingwood will put up a bit more of a fight than Essendon did. But yeah, I've got the Cats in that one. The next up at the Gabatoir, we've got North Melbourne going to Brisbane, and I think they'll just get sliced and diced. Don't really need to talk much about how Brisbane's just going to absolutely smoke North Melbourne. Carlton against Hawthorn. I actually think this is similar. A lot of teams pumping up Hawthorn, lots of teams pumping up Carlton. Carlton look really good, sadly. Sadly, they look really good. I think they're going to go and spank Hawthorn on Sunday. I don't think it'll be a close game. I think the Blues get up by about 40 points. I don't think the Hawks have been tested too much so far. Sorry, I should walk that comment back. I think that they had a hard game against Port Adelaide. No one expected them to win that. To go away and beat Port Adelaide, good result. But I think Port didn't play at their full potential. And I think Carlton, yeah, they just get this done. Then a pretty hard game to tip is St Kilda against Richmond. Yep, Saints came over to Perth, beat Freo. Freo were pretty poor. St Kilda weren't that efficient. I think they had 29 scoring shots. They weren't very accurate in front of goal. It is a genuine 50-50 game, and I've just got to guess who's going to rock up. If St Kilda actually rock up, they're a good chance. But I'm going to go the Tigers. I went off them after round one. And if I think back to round one, looks like Carlton might be a good side this year. Early evidence is saying so. Richmond were leading for large portions of that game and sort of ran out of gas a bit. St Kilda looked like they ran out of gas a bit against Freo in that last quarter. They've travelling back from Perth. That has a bit of an impact. So I'm going to go the Tigers for this one. But it's so hard to pick. Just throw a coin and make your choice off that. So that's my tips for the week. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like. And thanks for tuning in. See you, everyone.